Hello, this is Jim Skelly, and this is week number 7 in the Global Conversation. We've got a lot to talk about again this week. I hope that you've been very engaged by what we've been doing in the last several weeks. It certainly seems to me that the conversations in the learning circles have been extraordinary. I think the best we've seen in this class in the several years now that we've been coordinating it, and I have to say I'm just very impressed. The level of discussion is very, very high. So I hope you'll keep up that tendency. There's a couple of things I want to bring to your attention. One is that if you've looked at the website at the top of the page, you may see the new interactive map that we've just embedded. It's a Google map, and it shows where you're from, or where you're studying, and perhaps in some cases both. We're still playing around with it a little bit. If it doesn't show up, if you right-click and click refresh, you may see it. You can also click at the bottom of the map where it says see the map in a larger frame, and that will take you to the Google website and show it to you. You can even shift, and it's really a lot of fun. You can even shift to Google Earth and speed around as though you're in a wonderful plane, visiting people where people are. And if you take a look at it, I'd be most interested if you would tell me or give me more specific information as to where your home really is. In other words, once you get into the Google map, if you look at it carefully, you will see that, we've made an approximation as to where you are from. And if you look at it, send me the information, because I'd really like to make it as accurate as possible. We also expect to add your photos to it in the near future as well. So take a look at that. That's a lot of fun. I'm also going to send you a link this week to Foreign Policy Magazine has come out with a guide to climate skeptics. Essentially, they say to the reader, can't tell the legitimate concerns from the nonsense? Well, they're there to help, and it's very, very useful, I must say, because as you know, there's a lot of what we would characterize as disinformation around the climate today, and it's good to be able to sort through it. And this article, quite extensive, does do that for you. A couple of other things I want to point out to you as well. The blog run by Andrew Revkin of the New York Times. He's the science writer for the New York Times, and he does this blog, I may have pointed it out before, called .earth. .earth is particularly useful not only because of what Revkin writes, very interesting article this week about whether methane is being released as Arctic ice melts, and is there more methane gas coming up, and therefore are we going to reach a tipping point, etc., etc. Very thoughtful article using the best science we have available. You may want to take a look at that, but it also has links for those of you who are starting to think about broader projects, especially learning circle projects. You'll find that it has links to lots of other organizations and information. Finally, I wanted to also bring your attention in the learning circle on food and population. Jenna Goodhand has a post as of Saturday, the 6th, in which she's talking about the 100-mile diet. I think many of you might find it interesting. So don't just stay in your own learning circle. Look around and see what other people are talking about as well. The 100-mile diet essentially is a diet where you eat food only from within a 100-mile radius of where you live. Very interesting experiment, and Jenna is going to give us a bit more report on it in the future, and I think many of you would be interested to see it, to hear what she has to say. Now, this week, what are we up to? Well, we're up to a lot of things. In the course itself, as many of you will know, this week we're looking at the economy. And there's some very, very important work for you to take a look at. One is there's a whole series of short pieces on YouTube, frequently asked questions of the economist Herman Daly. The segments are 6 short video segments. They total about 35 minutes. Please take a listen to these. Daly is sort of the father of what you might call ecological economics. And again, what you're seeing when you listen to him, is this vision of a very different way of understanding our world. So not unlimited growth, but economic activity within a limited sphere, that sphere ultimately being the Earth itself. So listen to Daly. There are these 6 parts to the frequently asked questions, and then there's another piece on climate change and economic growth. We've also posted a lecture by Sir Nicholas Stern, who wrote the Stern Report on the economics of climate change. You shouldn't miss that. And we've also posted a video with Elizabeth Warren, who I have to say seems incredibly smart to me. And what she was talking about is the way in which the general economic activity is destroying any possibility of a middle-class lifestyle. She, too, is someone that looks to the broader context, and I think that's useful. And just to keep you on your toes, we also have posted this week a short, I think it's about 20 minutes, a video by the economist Bjørn Lomborg. Lomborg is a Dane, got into great trouble following the publication of his book, The Skeptical Environmentalist, which challenged widely held beliefs that the environment is in fact getting worse. I'll leave it to you to develop your own opinions about Lomborg, but you might check out further information about him. He is the darling of the climate skeptics, and I think it's worth sort of knowing about how he sees the world. He asks the question, for example, he tries to make the case that we should prioritize the world's biggest problems, and he doesn't think that climate change, global warming are at the top. Instead, he thinks we should spend our money on something else, for example, the prevention of AIDS. But it's generally meant to stimulate you, so do take a look at this. Finally, this is the usual required readings, Diamond, Chapter 15, and Harper. But what I really, really want you to read is the PDF that we posted by Herman Daly called Economics in a Full World. Once again, I keep emphasizing this, but I don't think I can emphasize it enough. I keep suggesting that we need to pay attention to the overall context, that we cannot deal with the issues that we confront in a decontextualized way. We have to see the way that they're connected, and we have to come up with solutions that in fact address specific issues, but in a contextual way so that there isn't some form of blowback. Biofuels, people starve, that kind of stuff. That's exactly what I'm talking about here. And if you look at the way the course is developed, what you see is, that thread about looking at the context. C. Wright Mills' article on private troubles versus public issues, Annie Leonard's The Story of Stuff, the piece by Garrett Hardin on the tragedy of the commons, which is terribly important, and then again Daly as well, who also is looking at context. So I hope you find this again stimulating. Please drop me a note about the interactive map especially. And I have had a number of conversations with students on Skype. If you have the capacity to use Skype, I've talked to people in Mexico, in France, in Argentina, etc. If you have the capacity, I'm glad to have a meeting, half hour, 45 minutes with you at a time when we can schedule that. Have a good week.